Welcome. The night is almost over. Somewhere in a great stone house in medieval England, perhaps in the year of our Lord 1300 and something, a kitchen is beginning to wake. Slowly, very slowly. Before the bell, before the cock crows, before the eastern sky has remembered the color blue. Let the world outside fall away. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breath grow long, and even the way the tide grows long. Tonight, we will not travel far. We will stay in one place. A medieval kitchen at the slow, gray hour before dawn. We will watch a banked fire. We will count cheeses on a shelf. We will hear the slow drip of water from a well bucket onto worn stone. Nothing important will happen. No kings, no battles, no messengers riding hard from the south. Just a kitchen waking up. Just bread and water and pottage, and the small repeated work of small repeated lives. Close your eyes if you like, or let them rest half open in the dark. The fire is banked under its blanket of ash. The scullion sleeps on his straw pallet near the hearth. There is plenty of time. Nothing in this kitchen needs you to be awake. Nothing in this kitchen needs anything at all. Chapter 1. Before the first bell. The kitchen is dark. It has been dark for hours. The fire has burned low, lower still, until only a banked mound of ash remains, hiding embers like a folded blanket. The cook, before he went to bed, raked the coals together and covered them gently, the way one covers a sleeping child. A few faint orange lines glow somewhere underneath, nothing more. The room is warm. The stones of the wall, thick and gray and uneven, have soaked up the day's heat, and they release it slowly into the dark. A pot hangs from an iron chain over the dead fire. Inside the pot, a little water and the bones of yesterday's mutton wait quietly. The broth has gone cold. It is patient. It has nothing to do until later. In one corner of the kitchen, on a thin pallet of straw covered with a rough wool blanket, the scullion lies asleep. He is perhaps 12 years old, perhaps 13. He himself is not sure. His name is something simple, Wat or Hob or Hal. It does not matter. He sleeps with his mouth open, one arm thrown above his head. His hands, even in sleep, are dark with old soot. He is the lowest member of the kitchen, the one who scours the pots, who carries the wood, who turns the spit when nobody more important wants to. He sleeps near the hearth, because the hearth is the warmest place in the house, and because someone must be here, just in case the embers need tending in the night. He has not stirred for many hours. He is not yet stirring. Above him, the great oak beams of the ceiling are lost in the dark. Strings of dried herbs hang from them, bunches of sage, bunches of thyme, dusty garlic in tied loops, a few withered onions on a long string. They sway very slightly when a draft creeps under the door. The door itself is heavy oak, banded with iron, closed against the chill of the early hours. Beyond it lies the screen's passage, and beyond that, the great hall, also dark, also waiting. Beyond the hall, the courtyard, with its single guttering lantern. Beyond the courtyard, the world. But the world is far away tonight. Tonight there is only the kitchen, and the kitchen is sleeping. Somewhere a mouse moves through the rushes on the floor. The rushes are old, almost a fortnight old, sweet-smelling once with strewn herbs, less so now. The mouse is small, brown, untroubled. It has known this kitchen all its short life. It knows where the crumbs fall. It knows the safe paths along the wall. It moves without hurry. It pauses to listen. It hears nothing but the slow breath of the sleeping boy. It moves on. The cook is asleep upstairs in a small chamber off the buttery, snoring gently into his pillow. The two undercooks are asleep in the loft above the bakehouse, dreaming the dreams of tired men. The pantry boy, who looks after the bread, is asleep on a bench near the bread chest. The buttery boy, who looks after the ale, is asleep near his casks. They will all wake soon, but not yet. Not yet. A faint wind passes across the thatched roof of the bakehouse outside. The thatch sighs. The wind moves on. The kitchen does not notice. The fire under its ash does not notice. The mouse, which has now reached the corner where the sack of stale bread lives, does not notice. Nothing notices anything. The night is almost over, but not quite. There is still a little time. The straw under the scullion rustles very softly as he turns in his sleep. Then it is quiet again. The embers glow. The stones hold their warmth. The mouse nibbles a crumb, and the kitchen waits, patient, full of small, soft sounds, for the long, slow business of a new day to begin. Chapter 2. Waking the Hearth. Somewhere outside, far off, a cock crows once. Then it is quiet again. The cock has spoken too early. Even the cock knows this. The sky has not yet begun to pale. The hens are not yet stirring. The cock falls silent again, embarrassed perhaps, and tucks his head back into his feathers. Inside the kitchen, the scullion stirs. He does not wake all at once. Waking is a long and patient business at his age. First, his breathing changes. Then he turns onto his side. Then he rubs his face with one sooty hand, smearing himself further. He opens his eyes. The kitchen is dark. He closes them again. He listens. Nothing. He opens them once more. He sits up. The blanket falls from his shoulders. The stone floor is cool under his feet. His feet are bare. He is wearing only a long woolen undertunic, much mended, the hem worn to a softness like petals. He yawns. He stretches. He scratches his head, slowly, thoughtfully, the way a small animal might. He has no particular thoughts in his head, and that is the proper way to wake. He knows what to do. He has done it every morning he can remember. He shuffles, half-stooped, to the great hearth. The hearth is the heart of the kitchen, a wide stone platform built into the gable wall, blackened by years of fire. He kneels beside it. He takes the iron poker, long and worn, leaning in its place. He touches the ash gently, as if asking permission. Beneath the ash, the embers are still alive. They have been waiting all night. He scrapes the ash aside in one slow motion. A faint orange glow appears, like a sleepy eye opening. He scrapes more aside. The glow grows. He blows on it, very softly. He has been blowing on embers since he was small. He knows not to blow too hard, not to scatter them, not to startle them. He blows the way you might whisper to a baby. The embers brighten. They are red, then orange, then a hot pale gold at the center. He reaches into the wood basket, tinder first, a handful of dry straw twisted into a loose knot. Then a few thin shavings of pine from the woodshed. Then a small handful of dry birch twigs. He places them on the embers in the careful order of 1,000 mornings. The straw catches at once with a small bright crackle. The shavings curl and blacken and burst into pale yellow flame. The twigs follow. He sits back on his heels and watches. The fire grows. Not quickly. There is no need for hurry. He adds a piece of split oak and then another. The flames climb. Shadows begin to move along the walls. The kitchen, which had been a single dim shape, becomes a room again. The long oak table appears. The shelves of pewter and earthenware appear. The hooks of pots and ladles appear. The strings of herbs hanging from the beams cast soft swinging shadows. The scullion's face is washed in firelight. His eyes are still half asleep. He is not thinking of anything at all. He is doing what he does. He adds another log. He sets the iron poker back in its place. He lifts the cold pot from its chain and carries it without effort to the long table. The bones inside clink softly. He returns to the fire. He hangs a smaller pot on the chain, a pot of fresh water from yesterday's last drawing. He blows on the fire one more time, very gently. The flames lean and lift. The water in the pot will not boil for a while. There is plenty of time. Everything in this kitchen has plenty of time. He sits down on a low stool near the hearth. He warms his hands. He yawns again. His eyes droop. He could almost sleep again, here in the warmth of the new fire. He lets his head rest against the warm stone of the hearth wall. He half dreams. The fire crackles softly. The pot makes small ticking sounds as it warms. Somewhere, the mouse has gone back to its hole. Somewhere, far off, the cock crows again, and this time means it. Chapter 3. Drawing water from the well. The scullion stands. He has dozed perhaps 10 minutes against the warm stones. It is enough. He pulls on his short woolen tunic over the undertunic, and a pair of much-darned hose, and a pair of leather shoes that have shaped themselves over the years to his particular feet. He takes the wooden yoke down from its peg by the door. The yoke is smooth and a little greasy, polished by 100 shoulders. From its hooks hang 2 empty wooden buckets, banded with iron. They are not light. They will be heavier soon. He unlatches the kitchen door. The hinges creak softly. He steps out into the screen's passage, and from there into the courtyard, and the morning meets him. The courtyard air is cold. Not bitterly cold. It is late spring, perhaps, or early autumn, but cold enough to make him pull in a quick breath. The sky above the courtyard has begun, just begun to turn from black to the deepest blue. A few stars still hold. The cobbles under his shoes are wet with dew. A faint smell of wood smoke drifts from the bakehouse chimney, where someone, somewhere, has also begun to wake the fire. From the stables on the far side of the yard, a horse exhales long and deep into the cold air. Then, nothing. The well stands in the middle of the courtyard. It is round, low, built of dressed stone, with a peaked wooden roof to keep out leaves and rain. A windlass sits above it, a wooden drum, a long iron handle, a thick rope coiled neatly. A wooden bucket hangs from the rope. Ready? The scullion sets his yoke down. He takes hold of the windlass handle. He does not rush. He turns it slowly. The rope unwinds. The bucket descends into the dark of the well. He does not need to look. He counts the turns by feel, by sound, by the small weighted shift of the rope. 10 turns, 12 turns, 14. There is a small sound far below, soft and round. The bucket has met the water. He waits a moment. He listens. The well is so deep that the sound of the water seems to come from another country. The bucket fills. He can feel it in the rope. The rope grows heavier, settles, takes the strain. He begins to wind the handle the other way. Slowly, slowly. The rope coils onto the drum again. Up the bucket comes, in no particular hurry, swaying very gently against the inside of the well. He thinks of nothing. The bucket arrives. Water glints darkly in the new gray light. He lifts it free and pours it into one of his own buckets. The water is so cold that the sides of the bucket fog faintly. He sends the well bucket back down. He counts the turns again. He pulls it up again. He fills the second bucket. He sends the well bucket down a third time, just to leave it where it belongs. He shoulders the yoke. The 2 full buckets settle, one on each side. They are heavy now, and the yoke creaks against his collarbones. But he is used to this. He has carried this yoke 1,000 mornings. He walks back across the courtyard slowly, taking small steps, letting the water settle so that none spills. A drop or two does spill, of course. It always does. The drops fall on the cobbles and find old pools and join them. The kitchen door is still ajar. He nudges it with his shoulder. The warm air of the kitchen meets him, breathing out into the cold. Firelight licks the inside of the door frame. He steps through. He sets the yoke down beside the long table. He lifts each bucket free. He pours one into the great copper pan on the table for washing, and the other into the larger cauldron beside the fire for the day's cooking water. He hangs the yoke back on its peg. He hangs the buckets on their hooks. He has done this so many times that his hands move without him. Outside, the sky has paled another shade. Inside, the fire crackles. The cauldron hisses faintly as cold water meets hot iron, and the kitchen, slowly, slowly, begins to wake the rest of the way. Chapter 4. The Larder and the Pantry. Footsteps on the wooden stair. Slow ones, heavy ones. The cook is coming down. He is not a hurried man. He has been a cook in this house for 19 years, and he has not hurried since the first one. His name is Master Edmund, but no one in the kitchen ever calls him anything but Master, or Cook, or, if very young, simply you. He is broad in the shoulders and round in the middle, and his beard is the color of a barley loaf. He is wrapped in a long woolen gown, somewhat stained, and a leather apron, and he carries in one hand the great ring of keys. He nods to the scullion. The scullion nods back. Nothing else passes between them. They have nothing to say. The cook crosses the kitchen to the door of the larder. He fits one of the keys to the lock. The lock is large and iron and slightly stiff, and he turns it slowly, with the patience of a man who has turned it more than 5,000 times. The door opens. A different kind of cold breathes out, the cold of a north-facing room, of stone shelves, of meat and fat. He steps in. He has a small clay lamp, freshly lit at the hearth, and he holds it up. The lamp shows him hams hanging from the ceiling on iron hooks. There are perhaps 8 of them, dark and dense, wrapped in muslin against the flies. Below the hams, slabs of bacon rest on a high shelf, salt-cured, pale-rimed. There are crocks of lard, sealed with wax. There is a small barrel of salted herring, half full, smelling faintly of the sea. There are wheels of cheese on the upper shelves, 3 of them, hard and yellow, and one new one, beginning to bloom with a pale rind. He counts, not aloud, just in the slow way of a man who has counted these things before. The hams, 8, as yesterday. The bacon, enough for the week. The cheeses, 3 full, 1 new. He lays a hand on the new cheese, lightly. He nods to himself. He moves on. In the corner of the larder, in a stone trough, last week's butter sits beneath a damp linen cloth, kept cool by the stone. He lifts the cloth. The butter is pale, slightly soft. He lays the cloth back. He counts the eggs in their straw-lined basket. 17. He does not need 17 today. He does not need them all week. He nods anyway. He leaves the larder. He locks it again. He crosses to the pantry, which is its own small room near the bakehouse door. The pantry is warmer, drier, full of the smell of grain and old loaves. Here are the bread chests, 3 of them, long and low, with hinged lids. Here are the sacks of flour and meal, leaning against the wall in their patient ranks. Wheat flour for the master's table, rye and barley for the household, oatmeal for pottage, a small sack of fine sifted flour for manchettes, the small white loaves the Lord prefers. He lifts the lid of the first bread chest. Inside lie yesterday's loaves, wrapped in linen. There is enough for the morning. There will need to be more by midday. He closes the lid. He lifts the lid of the second chest. The trenchers are inside, thick slabs of stale 4-day-old bread, used as plates at the great table. The trenchers are sufficient. He closes the lid. He glances at the sacks. Wheat, half a sack remaining. Rye, nearly full. Barley, full. Oatmeal, a little low, perhaps 3 days. He files this away, somewhere, in his slow, methodical mind. He locks the pantry behind him. Back in the kitchen, the scullion has fed more wood to the fire. The flames are higher now, steady, no longer needing tending. The water in the small pot is beginning to murmur. The cook unhooks his great wooden spoon from the wall. He hangs his ring of keys on his belt. He tips a little flour onto the long oak table, dusts it about with the palm of his hand, and smiles very faintly at nothing in particular. The kitchen is awake. The day has not yet begun. There is still plenty of time. Chapter 5. Kneading the morning dough. The cook lifts a great earthenware bowl from a low shelf near the hearth. The bowl is wide and round in the color of damp clay, and it has been in this kitchen longer than the cook has. Inside, beneath a damp linen cloth, the dough has been rising all night. He sets the bowl on the long oak table, gently, as if placing a sleeping cat. He lifts the cloth. The dough has risen. It has filled the bowl. It has the soft, pale curve of a full moon. The smell that rises with it, the warm, yeasty, faintly sour smell of bread waking up, fills the kitchen all at once, gentle as a slow breath. The cook leans forward and breathes it in. He does not smile, but something in his face softens. Bread is the oldest thing he knows. He dusts the table with more flour. He turns the bowl over and lets the dough fall onto the floured wood, and it comes out with a soft sigh. It is alive, in the slow, careful way that only dough is alive. A quiet living that does not move unless you move it. He presses it lightly with the heel of his hand. It yields. He folds it. He folds it again. He turns it. The fold, the press, the turn. Fold, press, turn. The same 3 motions 1,000 times in every kitchen, in every century, in every village across the wide and patient world. He does not count the folds. He knows when the dough is ready by the feel of it, by the way it begins to push back against his palm, by a small, smooth fullness in its skin. The dough is ready. It always is. He divides it with a long, thin knife, round loaves for the household, a few longer loaves for the servants' table, a handful of small, fine balls for the manchets, the white loaves the Lord prefers, made from finer flour set aside earlier. Each piece he weighs in the cup of his hand, more by habit than by need, and adjusts. He shapes each loaf, round to round, long to long. He cradles them as he works, the way a person might cradle a small, warm animal. The shaped loaves go onto a long wooden peel, the flat-bladed wooden paddle used to slide bread into the oven. He arranges them, leaving a hand's breadth between each, so that they may rise the second time before they bake. He dusts each top lightly with flour. He does not score them. In this household, plain loaves are plain loaves. Only the fine manchettes get a small cross cut into the top with the tip of a knife, which the cook now does, slowly, one at a time. The cross opens slightly under his blade. He sets the knife down. He covers the loaves on the peel with a clean linen cloth to keep the draft off them while they rest. He sets the peel aside on the broad bench near the bakehouse door, where the temperature is just right. In the meantime, the scullion has been watching. He has done so many things this morning already that he could probably do them in his sleep, and indeed, once or twice he very nearly has. Now he sweeps the flour table clean with the side of his hand. The flour falls onto the rushes on the floor, which makes them whiter, which is no harm. He gathers the empty bowl. He sets it on the side bench to be washed later. The cook nods, almost imperceptibly. The scullion nods back. Outside, beyond the kitchen window, a small, narrow window, glassless, with shutters now half open. The sky has gone from deep blue to the pale silver gray of a fish's belly. Somewhere a sparrow has begun to chirp, very faintly, from a beam in the bakehouse. Then a second sparrow answers, then a third. Their conversation is small and round and pointless and lovely. Inside, the loaves rest under their cloth. The dough breathes its slow second breath. The cook wipes his hands on his apron. He stands for a moment by the window and looks out at nothing in particular. The day is coming. There is still a little time before it arrives. Chapter 6. Heating the Beehive Oven. The bakehouse is not part of the kitchen. It is a small, low building of its own, built against the kitchen's outer wall, with its own low door and its own thatched roof. This is wise. Bakehouses, with their constant fires and their wooden roofs and their dry stored grain, have been known to burn. Better to keep them apart, quiet on their own, where if the worst should happen, the worst would not take the whole house with it. But nothing is going to burn this morning. Nothing is going to do anything dramatic at all. The cook crosses to the bakehouse door, with the scullion following a step behind, carrying a basket of dry kindling and a small armful of split oak. The cook unlatches the door. They step inside. The bakehouse is warm. It is always warm. Even on the coldest morning of midwinter, the great stone bulk of the oven holds yesterday's heat. The oven itself is the dome of the room, a low, rounded shape of brick and clay, like a beehive turned to stone, set into the back wall with a single arched opening just big enough for the wooden peel. The floor of the oven inside is a flat bed of fired brick, smoothed by years of bread. The cook kneels in front of the oven. He looks inside. Yesterday's last bake left a fine, pale ash on the floor of the oven, swept neatly to the back. Good, he nods. The scullion brings the kindling. The cook lays the fire inside the oven itself. This is the way of beehive ovens. They are heated by burning the fire inside the very chamber where the bread will eventually bake, and then the coals are raked out before the loaves go in. He lays a small nest of dry straw in the center. He lays thin pine shavings on top. He lays the dry oak split sticks crosswise above. He takes a glowing splinter from a small clay pot. The splinter has been carried, lit, from the kitchen hearth, and touches it to the straw. The straw catches it once. The shavings curl. The oak begins to take. He sits back on his heels and watches the fire grow inside the dome. The flames lick the curved brick. Shadows move across the rounded ceiling. The wood pops very softly. The cook adds another piece of oak, then another. The fire fills the dome. It must fill the dome, must roar against the brick, must heat every stone of the curve until the whole oven holds the heat in its bones. This is not quick work. It is the work of an hour, perhaps an hour and a half. The cook is in no hurry. The bread is in no hurry. Time in a bakehouse does what it is told. The scullion settles cross-legged on a low stool nearby, watching. He yawns. He has eaten nothing yet. He is not hungry exactly. He is just waiting. The fire roars softly inside the dome. The bricks darken with soot. The cook, after a while, adds another armful of wood. The flames climb higher. The bakehouse grows warmer. The scullion's eyelids grow heavy. After a long, peaceful while, the wood begins to fail. The flames die down. The coals glow red against the floor of the oven, then dull, then begin to gray at the edges. The cook reaches for the long-handled rake, a flat blade of iron on a long ash pole. He scrapes the coals from the back of the oven to the front, and from the front out into the iron tray on the floor of the bakehouse. The tray will be carried out later and the coals saved for other uses. He looks inside. The brick is hot, so hot that the air inside the oven shimmers faintly. He spits once on a stone at the entrance. The drop dances across the stone and vanishes. Yes, the oven is ready. He rises. The scullion rises too, blinking. Now the bread. Chapter 7. The Pottage Cauldron. By now, an undercook has come down. A younger man, late 20s perhaps, lean, brown-haired. He has slept well, and his eyes are still a little soft. He pulls on his apron, ties it, takes up a chopping knife. The cook gestures at the long table. There, in baskets, the day's vegetables, leeks, onions, a small cabbage, a handful of peas in their pods, a few carrots. The undercook nods. He begins with the leeks. He trims the dark green tops. He splits the white and pale green stalks down the middle. He rinses them in cold water from the copper pan. He sets them on the table and begins to slice them slowly into thin half circles. The blade taps the wood with a soft, regular tap, 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 like a small wooden clock. The cook, meanwhile, has gone to the great cauldron, an iron pot the size of a small bath, hung from a stout iron chain over the fire. He swings it out from the heart of the flames, just enough to add to it. He pours in water from the morning bucket. He adds the cold mutton broth, with its bones, from yesterday's leftover pot. He swings it back over the fire. The water hisses, very softly. The cook stirs it once with the long wooden spoon and leaves it to itself. The undercook brings the leeks. They go into the cauldron with a soft splash. The cook nods. The undercook returns to the table and begins on the onions, the slow tapping of the knife resins. Onions, peeled in thin papery layers, sliced. The smell rises gently, sharp and sweet at once, just enough to make the eyes prickle a little. The undercook does not weep. He has cut too many onions to weep over them. He scrapes them into a wooden bowl. He carries them to the cauldron. They go in. The water is now a pale broth, beginning to murmur. He returns. Peas. He shells them, one pod at a time, his thumb running down the seam, the small green spheres tumbling into a wooden bowl with a sound like rain on a roof. He shells and shells and shells. There is no hurry. The pods go into a basket by the door, to be given later to the pigs. The cabbage is shredded, slowly, with the long knife held flat. It goes into the cauldron. The carrots are scraped, no peeling, only scraping, with the dull edge of the knife, and chopped into rough rounds. They go in too. Now the oats. The cook fetches a small wooden scoop and a sack of oatmeal from the pantry. He measures with his eye. He lets the meal fall into the cauldron in a slow gray shower. He stirs. The pottage thickens, just a little. He adds more broth. He stirs again. He does not need to taste it. He has made this pottage every working day for 19 years. He could make it asleep, and on some mornings has come close to doing so. For seasoning, salt, from the salt cellar, a pinch, 2 pinches. Pepper, no. Pepper is for the Lord's table, not for the household pottage. A bay leaf, snapped in half. A small bunch of dried thyme, crumbled between the fingers. A shake of dried savory. He stirs. The pottage breathes a deep green smell, herby and warm. He covers the cauldron with its great wooden lid. He swings the cauldron back over the heart of the fire. The fire is steady now, no longer climbing, just burning the way a good fire burns, orange and quiet and even. The undercook wipes the table. He sweeps the leek tops and the onion skins and the pea pods into a basket. He carries the basket out the back door, to the yard, where the pigs will be glad of them later. He returns. He hangs his apron on its peg. He pours himself a small cup of weak ale from a jug on the bench. He drinks it slowly. The pottage simmers under its lid. Now and then a small puff of fragrant steam escapes around the rim. The cook listens to it the way another man might listen to a piece of music. It sings, very softly, the same low note it has sung for 19 years. Chapter 8. The Herb Garden at Dawn. A young kitchen maid comes down from the upper story now. She has been up for some time, putting on her coif, her apron, her wooden shoes. She is perhaps 15. Her name is Joan. She does not say good morning. No one says good morning in this kitchen at this hour. There is no need. She takes a flat woven basket from a peg and a small knife from the table, and she steps out of the kitchen door into the kitchen garden. The kitchen garden lies behind the bakehouse, a small walled patch of earth, perhaps 50 paces by 30. It is fenced with a low wattle hurdle to keep out the chickens, who would otherwise eat everything to the root in an afternoon. Inside the hurdle, the earth is dark and worked, divided into small raised beds with soft paths of trampled grass between them. At the far end stands a single old apple tree, leaning a little. Above the tree, the sky is the color of pale honey now. The east is lifting. The garden is wet with dew. Joan's wooden shoes leave dark prints on the grass paths. She walks slowly. She knows where everything is. She has walked these paths every morning since she was 12. She stops first at the parsley bed. The parsley is thick and curled and dark green and smells of clean water and pepper. She kneels on a folded sack laid for the purpose. She takes a handful of stems gently into her hand and cuts them low with a small knife, the way she has been taught, so that the plant will grow back. She lays the parsley in her basket. She moves on. The sage, pale gray-green, soft as a kitten's ear. She rubs a leaf between her fingers and holds the fingers to her nose. The smell of sage is the smell of every Sunday goose she has ever eaten. She cuts a small bunch into the basket. She moves on. The thyme, low and woody and stubborn, growing along the edge of the bed like a small gray wave. She does not need much. A few sprigs into the basket. She moves on. The rosemary. The rosemary is older than she is. It has the shape of a kneeling old man. She cuts a single small spray. She does not take more than she needs from the rosemary. The rosemary, she has been told since she was a child, must be respected. She does not know why. She respects it anyway. The mint, growing in a separate bed because mint is greedy and would eat the garden if you let it. A small bunch. She straightens. Her knees are damp. She looks up. The sky has turned, while she was kneeling, to a pale gold along the east, with one long thin cloud lying across it like a feather. A single bird flies very high overhead. She watches it until it is gone. Then she does not watch anything in particular. She walks back along the grass path. She passes the cabbages, dark and round and beaded with dew. She passes the leek bed, where the leeks she did not cut today stand in their row like quiet soldiers. She passes the peas, climbing their hazel sticks. She passes the apple tree, which has a few small green fruit on its branches. Not yet ready, not for weeks. At the gate of the garden, she stops. She looks back. The garden is fully visible now in the pale dawn. It is small. It is ordinary. It is, somehow, also beautiful, the way ordinary things are beautiful when no one is watching them. The dew shines. The earth is soft. The sky lifts higher. She turns and goes back through the gate. She crosses the yard. She passes the well, where the rope hangs still, where her own dim reflection moves once across the dark water and is gone. She nudges open the kitchen door with her hip. Warm air, firelight, the soft murmur of the pottage. The cook nods to her. She nods back. She lays the basket of herbs on the table. The smell of the garden rises with them, green and clean and damp and faintly bitter, and joins the smell of the bread and the smell of the pottage, and the smell of the wood smoke, and the smell of the warm stones. The kitchen smells, now, like every medieval kitchen has ever smelled at this hour. It smells like a kitchen. It smells like home. Chapter 9. The spit and the slow smoke. The cook turns now to the great hearth. The fire has been built up steadily by the scullion, fed log after log, until it is a wide bed of flame, hot and even, and red at the heart. Now it is time to set the meat to roast for the midday meal. There will be a leg of mutton today. Not a great feast. It is no feast day. But a leg, well larded, slowly turned, slowly browned, will be the centerpiece of the Lord's table at noon. The cook fetches the leg from a hook in the larder, where it has hung since yesterday afternoon. It is a fine leg, pale and pink, marbled with fat. He lays it on the long table. He takes a small, sharp larding needle, threads it with strips of pork fat, and pierces the leg in slow, careful rows, drawing the strips of fat through the meat to keep it tender as it roasts. He works without hurry. He has done this 1,000 times. The needle slides in, the fat slides through, the needle slides out. Each piercing is a small, soft, deliberate act. He rubs the leg with salt, with a little dried sage crumbled, with a little garlic crushed against the side of his knife. The smells rise. He nods. The spit is a long iron rod, thicker than a thumb, pointed at one end, with a small handle at the other. He slides the leg onto the spit, working the metal through the heart of the meat. He sets the spit into its iron supports, two upright wrought iron rests, called fire dogs, that stand in the hearth, one on each side of the fire. The meat now hangs above the fire, just above, not so close that the fat will scorch, not so far that the heat will not reach it. There is a slow art to the height of a roasting spit. The cook, by now, does the art without thinking. A wooden tray, lined with dripping pan, slides under the meat to catch the fat as it falls. The fat will be saved. The fat is too good to waste. The scullion takes his place on the low stool at the spit handle. This is one of his oldest jobs. He will turn the spit slowly, slowly, all morning, until the meat is brown and tender and steaming and ready to be carried to the carving table. He has turned spit since he was small enough to need a cushion to reach. His hands know the rhythm. He turns the spit a half turn. He waits a few breaths. He turns it another half turn. He waits. The fat begins after a while to drip. The drips fall into the pan with a soft chess. Then another drip. The smell of the meat begins to find the room. It is not a sharp smell, not yet, just a soft promise. Warm fat, warm meat, the faintest curl of smoke. It will deepen, hour by hour, into something that fills the whole house. But not yet. For now, it is only beginning. The scullion turns the spit. He turns it again. He yawns. The fire warms his face on one side, and the cool stone of the hearth wall warms his back on the other. His eyelids grow heavy. He turns the spit. He blinks slowly. He turns it again. He can almost dream. He almost is. The cook glances at him. He says nothing. A spit boy is allowed to half dream. As long as the spit turns, the cook does not mind. The cook himself, at 12, did the same. Most of his memories of being 12 are warm on one side and cool on the other. Outside, the east window has filled with pale gold. A shaft of early sunlight angles in through the open shutters and falls across the floor in a long, thin stripe. The dust in the air drifts slowly through the stripe. The sparrows in the bakehouse roof have grown bolder. Somewhere in the courtyard, a stable boy is singing a half a tune and forgetting the rest. The kitchen breathes. The pottage simmers. The bread in the bakehouse has been slid into the oven, and the oven sealed with a wooden door, and is now beginning, very quietly, to become bread. The leg of mutton turns. The scullion blinks. Time passes, the way time passes when nothing important is happening, which is to say, very kindly and very slow. Chapter 10. All the light at last. The sun is up now. Not high, only a hand's breadth over the eastern wall, but up. The kitchen window is full of pale gold. The shaft of light has crossed the floor and now climbs the side of the long oak table and lays itself like a sleeping cat along the worn wood. Dust drifts through it. The dust drifts very slowly. There is nothing for the dust to hurry toward. There is nothing for any of us to hurry toward anymore. Let us go back gently through everything that has happened, which is to say very little. The fire, once banked, once a small mound of ash, once only a few faint orange lines beneath a folded blanket of gray, is now a bed of steady flame, low and red and even. The scullion who once slept beside it, who once stirred slowly with a sooty hand on his face, who once blew gently on the embers to wake them, sits beside it still. He turns the spit, half turn by half turn, and his eyes droop, and he is more than half asleep, and the spit turns anyway. The water, once still in the deep dark of the well, once hauled up rope turn by rope turn into a wooden bucket, once carried across the cold cobbles in the cool blue dawn, now rests in the great cauldron, mingled with broth and herbs and oats and vegetables. It murmurs softly to itself, the way Pottage murmurs, the same low note it has sung for 19 years. The larder, once silent, once dark, once cold, and full of hanging hams and stacked cheeses, has been opened and counted and locked again. 8 hams, 3 full cheeses, 1 new one, 17 eggs, half a sack of wheat. The numbers are written nowhere but in the cook's slow, patient mind, and the larder is closed, and the larder is quiet again. The dough, once a shaggy, rough mass in a wooden trough at sunset yesterday, once a soft, pale full moon at dawn, has been folded and divided and shaped and rested. It is now, at this very moment, becoming bread inside the warm, sealed dome of the Beehive oven. The crust is forming. The bread is rising one last time. No one is watching. The bread does not need to be watched. The bread knows what to do. The herbs, once damp with dew, once growing quietly in their small walled garden behind the bakehouse, once cut low with a small knife by a girl on a folded sack, lie now in their basket on the long table. Parsley, sage, thyme, a little rosemary, mint. Their smell rises and joins the smell of bread, and the smell of pottage, and the smell of slow roasting fat, and the kitchen smells like all the kitchens of all the centuries, which is to say, like home. The leg of mutton, once a pale pink leg on a hook in the cool larder, once larded with strips of pork fat, once rubbed with salt and sage, turns slowly above the fire. "SSS," says the dripping fat. "SSS." The meat browns, by a degree, by another degree. The smell deepens. The smell will go on deepening until noon. The cook, once heavy-footed on the stair, once wrapped in his stained gown and his leather apron, once turning the great key in the larder lock, now stands by the window, with his hands at the small of his back, looking out at nothing in particular. He is perhaps the only person in the kitchen who is fully awake. He does not mind. He has been the only person fully awake in this kitchen at this hour for 19 years. The day has begun. There will be a noon meal. There will be supper. There will be tomorrow's bread to think of, and next week's hams, and the herbs to be hung in their bunches, and the pots to be scoured, and the rushes on the floor to be changed before the next saint's day. There will be all of that, but not for you. Not now. None of that is for you. You are warm. You are still. You are not in the kitchen. Not really. You are very far away, in a quieter place even than this. Let your shoulders soften. Let your breath grow long. The fire crackles low. The pottage simmers. The bread bakes. The spit turns. Nothing in this kitchen needs you. Nothing in this kitchen needs anything at all. The kitchen will go on. The cook will turn from the window. The undercook will return from the yard. The dairymaid will come in with the morning milk in her 2 wooden pails, white and warm and softly steaming. The bread will come out of the oven, golden and round, and be set on a long rack to cool, and the smell of it will fill the great hall above. The leg of mutton will turn and turn and turn. The pottage will thicken. The Lord, somewhere in his solar, will rise and stretch and call for water. None of that needs you. The kitchen has never needed you. Not this one, nor any other. Not the ones in stone houses, nor the ones in timber halls. Not the ones in monasteries, nor the ones in inns. Not the ones in this century, nor in any of the slow centuries before, nor in any of the slow centuries to come. Kitchens at dawn have always done what they do, which is mostly nothing, very slowly, with great patience. And you are far away. You are in your own warm bed, under your own warm blanket. The faint orange lines of your own banked fire, if you have one, glow somewhere in the dark of your room. The walls of your room hold the day's heat. Your breathing is long. Your shoulders are soft. Your eyelids are heavy. Let the kitchen fade. Let the cook fade. Let the scullion at his spit fade. Let the smell of bread fade, and the smell of pottage, and the smell of sage and rosemary and thyme. Let the long oak table fade. Let the small narrow window with its shaft of pale gold light fade. Let it all fade, gently, softly, like a fire banked under ash, like a candle lowered into wax. You have nothing to do. There is nothing more for you tonight. Sleep now. Sleep deeply. Sleep well. Good night.